Good afternoon. It is now, let's see here, 5:02, and I'll call the Master Plan Committee meeting of Thursday, April 23rd, 2026 to order. In addition, we have 3 members of the Economic Development Commission present, representing a quorum, which has been posted. First order of business is an attendance roll call, starting with Bob.
Bob and Eric.
Linda Brown.
Carol Gogolinsky. Margot Bacon.
Rebecca LaValle.
Robert Moran.
Mike Swacker.
Ross Smith.
Gordon Larrabee.
Rich Preston.
Dan on Zoom.
Sorry, Dan. I was this close.
I think Meg's the only one listening.
Rich
She's on Zoom.
on Zoom.
On Zoom, who do we have?
Oh,
Emily.
Meg
Okay.
on the beach.
Meg.
yeah.
You know what that means.
Pigs on the beach.
What's that? Oh, we got a roll call? Ugh. It's going downhill fast. Did you catch that? All right, so we have Meg on Zoom. Is everybody here? I think we've got everyone. We have 12 members.
Nice.
now. Meg. If you would, please take a look at the minutes of March 26th. Tell us what you think.
Talk about big print.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes.
Matt said he's zooming in. It may take a couple of minutes, so if we can. So he'll be here by the time we start talking about the chapters, hopefully.
All righty. Thank you.
That's my wake-up alarm.
Wake up.
Sounds like the ice cream truck did.
Yes, yes.
That's my ice cream alarm. Yeah.
Just got a new phone, so it's
That's always fun.
transferred.
Just wanted to point out action item 3, where it says replace school court with Gleason Court. And I know what we did, but there is a school court. It's the other street that goes up between,
It's like a dead end.
goes up around Easy Mart. It originally made a loop.
Yeah.
Easy Mart
Yeah.
and Gregory's.
And, no, Easy Mart and the Chinese
Oh, Chinese place.
place. Yeah,
Correct.
that's where school court is located.
Yeah, I know there is one.
Yes.
But I think they were,
I think
It should be
We
Gleason.
were wondering where it was.
Yeah.
But yes, Gleason Court is correct.
Can I ask a question? Down, was that, these own parcels in the downtown area? Is that all we wanted to do, was the downtown area? I don't remember. Or was it the whole town?
yeah, no, not the whole town.
Just the downtown, okay.
Yeah. And like maybe like West Street and that.
Okay, okay.
And like behind the post office. The old man.
Yes, okay, yeah, okay, got it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minute.
Okay.
Second.
So I take it it wasn't amended? That wasn't an amendment?
No, that was just a statement. That
Okay.
wasn't-
That was an amendment.
Okay, so we have a motion by Bob, a second by Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by, we have a roll call vote. This is a roll call vote, Bob.
Okay, Bob and Eric,
Aye.
but aye.
Linda Brown, aye.
Carol Bogolinski, aye.
Barbara Bacon, aye.
Rebecca Lavalley, aye.
Bob Moran, aye.
Mike Zwicker, aye.
Ross Smith, aye.
Wouldn't Larrabee abstain?
Dan Mascroft abstain.
Meg? Can
Meg
you-
Schlesman, aye.
Rich Preston, aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining, the ayes have it. Thank you. Let's see. So, Bob, you were telling me we're good to go as far as quarterly reporting and reimbursement at this point?
I believe so. You got your reports from CMRPC?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, everything looks good.
That's great. We're still in the black.
Yeah, we're not bankrupt yet.
You're trying.
All right, here. I don't see Matt.
So can I mention something quickly, Rich? There's a flyer in your packets for an event coming up next Tuesday night here in this room from 6:30 to 8. It's a listening session to come up with a conceptual plan for a potential walking trail down near Gilboa Pond off of Gilboa Street. So I encourage anyone who can attend to attend. I know Linda's going to be there, Bob's going to be there, Margaret's, you're going to be there, correct?
I don't know.
Margaret may be there.
I'm going to try to be.
Yes. Okay, great. So,
Margaret, were you aware of it? Were you aware of it?
Yeah, but I got other commitments.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought, it sounded like you didn't, this is the first time I heard about it.
No,
No, okay.
so we're not going to have a Zoom option because a workshop like this, a listening session, is very difficult to have people zooming in and they can't see the displays and the stations and things like that. So it is in person only, although cable will be recording it for if people want to go back and watch it after the fact. And there may be light refreshments, Daniel was saying, so they may have light refreshments. So
Matt is on now.
excellent, good timing.
Perfect.
Thanks, Rich.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So if there is no objection, I wanted to skip to item 5, take it out of order. The committee has no objection. And Matthew, can you hear us? Matt?
The question is, can you hear me?
I can hear you, loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Thank you, Matt. So we're going to shift things around a bit and like good item 5, discuss the economic development chapter. So Matt, if it's okay with you, I just want to pass the baton to you and so that you have an opportunity to share your thoughts, ideas, and concerns regarding the current economic development chapter.
All right, I appreciate the accommodation, Mr. Chairman. Any noise you hear in the background is just life happening. If anything turns into a shriek, I might disappear. So I wanted to give the committee some thoughts that it may take into consideration when deciding whether they want to finalize this part of the document. Economic development has been a really big part of my professional career, so I have applied myself and the skills I've been taught along the way, and an awful lot of humility that I gained from ups and downs, because it's a very challenging field to be in. And I think we have an extraordinary effort going on right now in Douglas. Bob and Eric is very good at his job, and we arrived at a consensus, I think, as a local government and a community around economic development as a very important part of the solution to the overall tax burden and revenue challenges facing the town back in 2017, 2018. And the thought was, and I think it was Mr. Monerick who got up at one of those very crowded meetings dealing with the override, who said, listen, we got to get serious about getting business into town. And it was good to hear, and it was good to see the consensus from so many people that was an effort that we wanted to put really significant money and time against. And so as an organization, I can't underemphasize this or overemphasize it enough. As an organization, the town of Douglas has invested a tremendous amount of resources into economic development. From everything from hiring Bob full-time and bringing him up to a management level salary, to the incentives that are in my contract, to really significant grant activity and all the administration of all those grants. So what I'd like to see, or would recommend to the master plan committee, is that this chapter of your master plan has to more closely reflect what we're doing, what and how we've built this construct. And it's going to sound a lot like stream of consciousness. I'm trying to keep my thoughts organized, but when I think of this issue, I think of two pieces, right? There's the organic development of an economy in the town of Douglas, the things that your existing residents and the employees who work in town during the day are circulating around buying, and what their buying habits are and how they organize their lives around the things that they can purchase, and what opportunities there are for local entrepreneurs to start a business that is strong enough to survive and grow. And I consider that to be your organic growth, just the local economy. And then there's the secondary piece, which can be very important, which is the attracted economy, the things that you go out and try to bring in that haven't arisen from anybody's idea of how to serve a local customer need, but are fit into the broader state or national economy. And the players that we're dealing with right now play in the national economy. So you start off with a situational assessment. What are the conditions, economic conditions in the town currently? And there are some examples of excellent work in the draft that was provided. So I would compliment the effort made to document where employees, where residents go to work. So there's discussion of Douglas during the day as a net exporter of human talent. More people leave town to go to their jobs than come into Douglas to do their jobs. And then you have your local business core on Main Street. So there's good analysis there about flows, but the map of the economy and where the opportunities and capacity exist probably get short shrift and need more work. So to really map out your community as an economic development opportunity for the investment world, you start off with utilities. Where's the water? Where's the sewer? Where is the electric? And not just existing pipes and wires, but what is the capacity of the system and where are there opportunities for capacity to be expanded? Because what a serious commercial real estate VP is looking at from a national company is, I don't want to overinvest in local infrastructure. I want to build my building and start and run my division in a place that can accommodate me. And so as we build all these layers into the map, where are the people, where are the utilities, you begin to have a good grasp on what the challenges and opportunities are for your community. And you should be able to work to a bulleted list of 10 to 15 properties that match the global demand for specific types of building structures in the hottest economic sectors out there. So part of the analysis for an economic development plan has to include who's growing out there, who might want to build a business or who wants to expand their business in Douglas, right? And so we had this discussion the other night at the select board. Nobody's building typewriter factories. We're not going to spend a lot of time chasing somebody who wants to build a typewriter factory. The product is dying, the industry's going away, and really the best place to get one is an antique shop. And I'm using a facetious example to make a stronger point, which is only sectors that are growing are going to provide the best possible opportunities for the town to attract a larger business to a site that's suitable to it. And I think another piece that requires some input from Bob and I, and even the select board, is what is our revenue target? How does our revenue target balance against the desires of the people expressed through the survey that was done to support the master plan? So let's not ignore any of that feedback. Let's build on the feedback from the people. And to me, the overwhelming conclusion of a lot of those surveys was people want Douglas to maintain its rural, small-town character and to build on the sense of small-town community that the place has enjoyed for decades. At the same time, people don't want taxes to go out of control. So what we've done is we've sort of settled on this eastern edge of town, East Douglas, all the way from Davis Street up to Gilboa Street, as being the best place to focus our development efforts because it's away from where most people live. It provides you with revenue and it minimizes the impact, although the impact could still be felt, whether it's traffic or other things. It all comes together as a system. And the people who make these investments are part of our audience. So as much as we need to build consensus in Douglas around what we're doing and what to do next, we have to realize that one of the leading executives who was already invested in a very large building in Douglas, he said something along the way that was very important. When he was interested in our town, he downloaded the zoning code and he downloaded minutes of meetings and he downloaded what he could find of our master plan activity because he wanted to educate himself on Douglas. And whether he moved forward or not depended a lot on whether or not he was impressed with what he saw and with the contact he had with individuals at town hall. So we can't give that short shrift because if you're about to spend a couple $100 million or $500 million, you're going to do that research, and we need to put our best foot forward. The more sophisticated we can be and thoughtful about this chapter in the master plan, the stronger the marketing impact will be there. I don't think that you need to necessarily get rid of or short stick any of the community development text in this draft. You know, there are things that we really need to do downtown in terms of beautification and improvement of the business climate and business environment for the people that we already have trying to make a living from the local economy. But that is not the main thrust. We could, if we threw all of our available resources into addressing that issue, we would not completely fix it and we wouldn't generate enough revenue to justify the investment. So there's just a level of emphasis that I would recommend the committee push the effort more towards this strategic positioning and self-assessment of the community as an opportunity, because from that basis, we can get the consensus or the feedback from the public that guides our efforts. That's most of what I had prepared to say. I can hang on here a few minutes. There doesn't appear to be too much of a tumult, so I can answer questions or I can grab some feedback, or if you want to pick my brain on something, I'm happy to try to answer.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So I'll open it up to the committee. Does anyone have questions or comments for Matthew? Unusually silent. Sorry.
I think he's right on with everything he's saying. What we need is we need someone to, with his expertise, and I don't know who else he could put on it, to write this thing for us so we can get it into the master plan. So that we can, as he said, they look at these master plans and stuff. I'm not a person who would know how to write that. And I don't know if anybody else here can do that. But I think we really need to sit down before we finally do this master plan on how it's printed up, work out something to put in the way he's saying we should do it.
So the chair, John and I started that process today with Matt. So between the three of us, I think we can accomplish that.
Okay.
And maybe come back to the committee with a, because I've got it pulled up right now, key finding one. I've found some more errors in there, which should be reworded, which John and I was working on today.
Now, my comments are not because Bob and Matt have much more knowledge of this town because they've been here longer and they've worked with this longer. My comments come from a more general perspective of the way the document flows and the way it's worded, because to Matt's point, there's some things in here that I think could be worded better, little sentences that could be finished and not so much slang used. So I'll be looking at that stuff. An example is on the second page. Bob and I talked about this today. When it comes to the cubes at Gilboa, I don't think we should put a number on the amount of jobs that are going to be created because we don't know that yet. We may be shortchanging ourselves. We may get a tenant in there who creates 800 jobs. So I think we can say a substantial amount of jobs and a substantial amount of revenue. But don't put a dollar figure, don't put a specific number, because that could either benefit us or hurt us.
And I agree
Either
with
way.
that, because I know for a fact we've worked with tenants that have gone from 300 to 1,200 jobs. You can't put that number in there. We don't know.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's okay with Emily, if we take a stab at this and go in, okay.
Definitely.
So Bob and I will put our heads together here in the next few days to kind of tackle this and kind of look at
And run it
things like that.
with Matt.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any thoughts or comments?
Will that also all be working with CMRPC in that too?
Yes. We're not going to be, like Matt said, we're not
What's going on here?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're not going to be taking what they did and throwing it away and starting over
No,
again.
right.
We're going to take what they did and basically there's going to be things that we go back to Emily with and say, listen, could you add this or could you do that? Matt brought up a couple things that I think, kind of target properties and things like that. So we're just, we're not going to, throw this out and start over again.
No.
It's just going to be like, okay, I think this, this needs to be reworded to be worded this way. Bob's looking at the accuracy of information, like the fact that we do have natural gas in Douglas. So things like that. So Matt, Bob, and I are coming at it from different angles.
But to your point, Mike, I think
Pretty much.
CMRPC has been very accommodating, and
Yes.
we're looking forward to working with them.
And if I can, to the chair and stuff, remember, CMRPC does this for every town. So they get to know what the verbiage works and doesn't work. This isn't their first rodeo, just so we all know.
They
And not only that,
template.
I mean, in the town, I've been here close to 20 years now, the first major part has been the Cube. If everything's been going so great and everything else, then why hasn't more been done before that? So it's a deal where I think starting with the Cube worked out awesome. There could be a few tweaks here and there, but just remember that the CMRPC has also been doing this a long time also.
Do we have the map existing yet of where the different resources are with the natural gas and water, sewer and all that things? And is there like a short list of the future technologies and businesses and opportunities already created?
Well, that's where, Bob may be aware of things because he's been out marketing the town and he's talked to different developers things. CMRPC may have an awareness of, sectors of the economic sectors that are growing. For instance, this is, again, like you said, this is what they do, this is what consultants do. When I was in Rentham, when we were doing the corridor study of Route 1, the consultant we hired, Kathy McCabe, came in and said, oh, everyone wants retail on Route 1. She goes, no, you have retail to the north in Foxborough and to the south in Attleboro. You don't want that. It's saturation. You want something that complements it. What ended up coming in? A go-kart track. Something that complements those other uses around and carves out its own niche right across the street from Luciano's restaurant.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. So to your point, Mike, yes, this is not their first rodeo, but someone like Bob and Matt
Right.
and this committee has the knowledge of this town, and because no two towns are the same, their locations are different, the factors are different. Stoughton, which is 30,000 people, 15 miles from Boston, is right on Route 24, is different than Douglas. So different locations, different situations. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to craft this to be about Douglas and unique to Douglas.
I have a question. So after you and Bob and Matt look at this and make changes, can we get that before the next meeting, strike out, or this, if you're adding something, so that we can read it prior to the meeting and show where you're making changes, words you're, strike through them, make them a different color or something because it'll be a whole nother document. We may as well throw this one away.
No, we're
I think
not
basically-
I
throwing
know
that away.
that, but you might take out a whole paragraph that,
I think all they're doing is taking the ball
Right.
of clay and molding it.
I want to see the
Like-
changes.
track
I want to
changes,
see the
that's fine.
changes
Simple
before I
functions.
vote on it.
No, I'm not talking about deleting a paragraph. No.
And John, how you want to handle that is we can't reply all, because
Right.
that's technically a meeting outside a meeting.
Correct.
So we
But
have to
if we can
reply
see
to
the
one
changes.
person. You?
Yeah,
Prior.
exactly, centralized. So I can send it out to the committee, but don't reply all.
Reply strictly to John.
And then the
Reply
board
strictly
can
to me.
make a
Yes,
collective
that's what- yeah.
decision
Yep.
on the changes.
Is there an extra copy of what you guys are talking about?
The chapter.
It was passed out.
Yeah, it was passed out in the last one.
I don't know,
Yeah, it was last meeting.
I can send you a copy of it.
And Dan, to your point, I think you mentioned, is there a map of our infrastructure? We have to be careful there, because the water system sewer manager does not want the water map published for terrorist activity.
Yep,
Okay.
Neither should we publish anything about gas.
Correct.
We can give a general location, it's in this part of town, but no streets, nothing.
yep.
But what's interesting is you can go on our GIS and turn on our water and sewer layers.
Yeah.
And it comes right up, so,
Yeah, but it's not updated.
No, it's not.
yeah, we heard that last night at the planning board with Mike DeRose. It's not updated.
But if I could just circle back, John, so whatever you take out, I agree. I want to see it, just strike it. And then we got to, once you have that and you're comfortable with it, then we want to work with Emily and CMRP to make sure that you put together what they have and what we have.
It's a group effort.
Yeah. Bob?
I just want to congratulate and thank Matt for pretty direct communication about the idea that economic development is the thing that will change the tax picture in the town, and the other goals that we've all kind of put out there and agreed on won't happen unless we have, an improvement in the tax situation of the town. So Matt, your point is, this is a strategy document that developers read, and it should be welcoming and attractive and encouraging about large-scale development, which we think will trigger and open up other good objectives. But I agree, this chapter is probably not as focused on that as it probably should be. Yeah.
I'd like to say one other thing, too. You know, everybody wants to keep the rural character of the town and stuff like that. Well, one of the things the advantage that we have in Douglas is the fact that 146 does not barrel through the middle of, like it does through Sutton and Uxbridge. Our core is not, but the industrial stuff's around the edge. So you can still keep the character, but still get these bigger things that you probably wouldn't want running down the middle of the town.
Yeah. Get them out near the highway and keep the
Yeah.
downtown.
We're lucky
Yeah.
in that way.
We are.
That we're not right down the middle like Uxbridge and Sutton.
Anyone else? Anything?
Has everyone on the committee seen the movie that was produced to promote Douglas at my professional conference about a year ago?
I think I
have.
Just about everybody's seen it?
Yeah.
Where do you see it?
There you go.
The movie?
I haven't
YouTube.
seen it.
Was it Marvel Endgame?
How do you access it?
Can you provide us a link, Matt?
Captain America.
Yeah, we can, if Bob doesn't have it right now, I can try to grab you a link and send it around. But it was a pretty good summary of some of these tensions, right, between the picturesque and rural sections of Douglas. And then when you turn the drone around from the steeple of the Congregational Church, you see 146 and the cubes and the mill building and all of the stuff that's going on that side. So and Carol's exactly right. We are extremely fortunate that you're not looking at your development corridor being right in the middle of town. It's on the edge. It gives you a huge opportunity to do something and to move the community forward in a way that doesn't completely undermine your way of life. The one thing that I think is super important, and I would really encourage the committee to cogitate on this issue, is when people say rural character of the town, what do they mean? Ask those second and third level questions. What is it that you enjoy the most? Is it a small festival at the Common? Is it Oktoberfest? Is it going to a little league game where you know everybody? What is it that captures your imagination and makes you want to live in town? Because that's a good list to have when you're considering what's the place going to be like 10 or 12 years from now. How do we preserve those aspects that people love the most, especially, lifelong, generations-long townies? How do you want this to go? That general rubric or that general slogan, rural character, doesn't. I think I know what it means, but I don't know that everybody would agree with my definition. So it would be good if we had a consensus around what those key objectives would be.
All right. Anything else from the committee? Comments? Considerations? Any final words, Matt?
No, I appreciate your accommodation, and I hope you have a great meeting. I guess you got like 3 committees all there.
Yeah.
Microphones for everyone?
No shortage of committees here. I think everybody's here.
Do we want to talk about the definition of rural and like what we think that is and all that?
Well, Matt said he has one, so we have to come up with our own. And then we can see if it's...
But it may be different. 5 different people may have 5 different...
I think we can certainly come to a consensus there. Yeah. I don't think it would be too hard. CMRPC representative, did you have any thoughts or comments that you want to make at all?
I'm okay at this moment.
I think that's it. Unless you have anything else for us, Matt. I think we can cut you loose if you'd like.
I'll just leave you with this. I apologize in advance if the air conditioning unit turns on in the middle of your meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's a lot to think about. Anything else on this particular agenda item?
I look forward to what Bob and John and Matt can put together, and it makes perfect sense with their expertise in those and familiarity of those areas too. So.
And where I come at it is, yes, it's a balance of putting together a chapter that someone in the industry can get different important information from. I come at it from, I'm an outsider, I'm a resident who doesn't know the lingo of these things. I'm trying to make sure it's worded in a way that people can understand it consistently at the same time as giving something for people, for experts to basically get the information they need. You also need to have this document be understandable
readable
to everybody, who may not speak the language.
I don't think it's a bad idea, because we all have a different perspective of what we think is going to be the future, short-term, medium-term, or whatnot. Bob would know, 5 years and 8 years ago, there was a lot of towns signing up for solar PPAs and doing all those things. It's slowed down a little bit for multiple reasons. Now everyone's talking about data centers and all these things happening. Cool, great, you like it, hate it, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's happening. What's going to next 5 years? What's the next thing in 10 years? So I don't think it's a bad idea to.
It's a challenge, because obviously over the past few years, almost annually, there's been something different coming down from the state that towns need to deal with in their zoning regulations.
Right.
So it makes it a challenge from my office to work with the planning board and other boards to plan our own land use. When all of a sudden it's like, bang, you have 3 months to do this. Bang, you have 5 months to do that. It's like, okay, I was working on this, but now I have to drop everything and work on that.
Yeah.
So it becomes more challenging all the time.
And I do have to say that the master plan that was formed by some members of this committee 20, 25 years ago, I use that as a blueprint for what I'm doing right now. So somebody 25 years from now will be using this blueprint.
Yep.
I think that is an important thing to bear in mind, that this document needs to serve for the next, at least 20 years probably, and it needs to be sufficiently flexible and not so focused on what the opportunities are right now that it becomes difficult in 5 years' time to use it to motivate what is the opportunity in 5 years' time. So it's a balancing act between grabbing the opportunities that are available now and creating a long-term strategic vision, which says, as you say, even if the practical opportunities change completely, the master plan has set a scene which enables the town to to take decisions based on the core values and to react to whatever is current at the time in 5 or 10 years' time. So, I mean, I think that what you're suggesting is a really important and would be a useful addition. But it's important to continue seeing it within that context of a broader strategic document.
The mighty oak was once an acorn.
So I'd have to ask John, is that something you could email to us? Is that movie that was already made about Douglas?
I've got to get it myself.
Well, I had sent it to Emily because it is on Douglas.
Okay.
If you can get it, can you send it to him and he can mail
that'd
it?
be
That way members that don't have it, or if we want to review it again and say, oh yeah, Douglas
The
is
one
that.
Matt was referencing?
You know what would be
Yeah.
great is to watch it together.
Oh.
And then.
Yeah, it's only, what,
input.
5 minutes
Yeah,
of
it's only
that?
5 minutes. You know, it's not a.
Popcorn.
lengthy-
Yeah, nobody brought pizza.
Pizza.
But if you could email it too.
Yes, yeah.
But I think it'd be good to watch it
That's a good idea.
up there on the big screen.
Right?
It'll be on the
Next
next
meeting.
agenda. I'll bring the popcorn.
There you go. Popcorn, sounds good.
Okay, the filming was shot August of 2024. I'm trying to find the link to it.
Could that spark some discussion if we watch it as a
I
group?
think it's.
Because it shows the rural
Right.
as well as the industrial.
Right.
There's a lot of trees in the video.
Well, like the snet, you know,
Which is good.
the
That's
person
rural.
riding the horse, and you don't see that in a big
If you
city.
did the same film in Auburn, all you'd see is rooftops
Yeah,
and smokestacks. That's not rural.
yeah, correct.
Any other thoughts, comments, considerations? Great.
I say move together.
Movie night.
So, thank you. That was actually a good, productive conversation. I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to circle back to, we're going to lighten it up a bit, Emily. Announce the winners of the Master Plan Community Photo Contest.
All been waiting for. Yay. Okay. Actually, can you pass around? Okay, the votes are in, everyone. Just everyone has a copy there.
The votes are in.
Do we need a drum roll?
There's like 7 categories. I don't know if you want to do that for each one.
Did you get the count's permission to be used?
I don't know that I did.
I
Okay.
want to get a lawsuit.
So the first category was community and culture. Congratulations to Beverly Nelson on
Nice picture.
That's a beautiful
That's a
photo.
nice one.
yes, the First Congregational Church at Douglas Commons.
I'm assuming this represents how it's going to look, because the colors are much more vibrant
Yeah.
than this,
They
than
came
what
out
we've seen
good on this
before.
one.
Oh, gifts, she got the gift basket.
I have collected all of the gift certificates. I just need to pick up the gift basket and then figure out how to do it.
Let us know if we can help.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I can draft up a letter for each of them, and then you could sign it or something, and then we could email it. And
Great.
yeah, because I think I have everyone's
Yep.
email, so I think that'd be nice and official. And
Glad to do it.
oh, perfect. The next one we have History and Landmarks. The winner was Paul Peterson. Congratulations for your picture of the Stone Arch Bridge.
That's nice.
Got a gift certificate for a large cheese pizza at Douglas House Pizza. Beautiful. The winner of the Homes and Businesses category is Lisa Wazinski of the Jenks store. And then on the next one, Lisa also the winner of the Natural Resources and Agricultural category with her amazing photo of these cows digging into fall pumpkins.
Yeah, that's funny.
Very surprised.
Yeah, I don't think the cow on the right is very happy.
So Lisa got a gift certificate valued of $50 for Avenue on Main because she won 2 categories. Then we have sports and recreation. The winner is Neo Tells. This photo, he got a gift certificate of $25 to New Hot Walk. You also won the youth photographer competition, showing Douglas's Deca Club. I'm not sure what that is.
Distributed Education Club of America.
Oh.
It's basically like a little retail setup in the high school.
That's really cool. So he also got a gift certificate for a large pizza from Gregory's. We had an extra gift certificate donation, so I decided to award we only had 2 submissions for the youth category, so I created a runner-up category for the youth photographers. So Naima Tyrone Henville, age 11, our youngest submission. I think this is a photo from her backyard. So we'll give her a gift certificate for large cheese pizza from Gregory's. And then I think, the overall winner is Beverly Nelson, showing photo of Autumn at the Bridge. And that is a concert series pass for the concerts that Douglas Orchard and Farm hosts. It's a $100 value. So I think that's a wonderful grand prize for a beautiful photo that really encapsulates the town of Douglas. And I'm so excited. If we're all in consensus here, I think this will go on the cover of the master plan. I think that's a great one.
It's beautiful. Cool.
Perfect. All right.
Cool. Very nice.
Congratulations to the winners, and thank you to their sponsors, the Douglas House Pizza, New Hot Walk, Gregory's, Avenue on Main, Douglas Orchard and Farm, and More Than Nutrition for their very, very generous donations, and just for being really kind and talking to me when I was going in and asking them for donations. Everyone I spoke to was just so wonderful and absolutely reflects the experience I've had in this town. Just such kind, generous people. So.
All right, people, let's give it up for the winners and the sponsors. Come on.
I think we can expand this to another contest. If you go to the cow picture, the cow on the right, guess what he's saying?
Please keep it G-rated.
A good comment would be,
Saying thank you.
I said, fix the roads. Well, where's the tunnel?
Emily, thank you. You and the gang.
Thank you, Emily.
And there will be captions under the pictures, or?
Including pictures and giving photo credit to the photographers.
Excellent.
Yay.
So when do you?
And we got a lot of other photos too. So thank you not just to the winners, but everyone who submitted, because now our plan is going to be full of beautiful photos. So exciting. Cool. That's our community photo contest. Guess if we're ready to go on to the land use chapter, we have Gabe here tonight. He's joined online.
Hi.
Hey Gabe, thanks for joining.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let me just... We're just passing around the chapters, and then I'm going to pull up.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That one fell in my lap, literally. Ooh, I remember this. Excellent.
Thank you for sending that to me.
The historical.
I love that picture.
Some extra Yeah, that's really nice.
You actually can get it online. Right there, you can blow it up.
I printed 11 by 17 on this.
Yeah, I think like we've done before, we'll kind of just go through page by page, and Gabe can give kind of an overall summary, and feel free to ask any questions or flag anything, any edits or feedback you might have jotted down. All right, Gabe, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So like I said, thanks for having me here today. I don't think this is dramatically different from content from the last time I met with the committee, but I'm certainly interested in any feedback. So yeah, like this chapter gets into, I think usually when we do these master plans, land use and zoning comes towards the end of the process because we're kind of thinking about how to put, it's one of the most powerful tools that the town has to dictate how things happen in the town, and we want to make sure it's downstream from, like we've been talking about, economic development goals, but also housing goals, and any other goals that play into land use. So I think the main thing with Douglas, and this is a theme I think with communities around central Massachusetts, is that we want to make sure that we are directing growth towards parts of town that already have infrastructure, that we reinforce village scale development patterns, and that, and also encouraging, needed housing diversity and housing development while protecting the natural resources in the town. So I think if we want to move on.
So I have a couple comments on page 1.
Of course.
The first paragraph, the first sentence, second paragraph, I just think that should be flipped.
Sure.
The chapter utilizes an existing conditions analysis and builds on community feedback in coordination with related master plan. I just think that it utilizes an analysis and builds on community, because you start with the existing conditions, get community feedback, and that's how you move forward.
Okay.
So just switch those. So basically the chapter utilizes an existing conditions analysis and builds on community feedback in coordination. Blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
I might write yours down later.
Okay, yeah, so I can get these to you.
I got confused, I'm sorry.
And a couple lines down, instead of framework, regulations, because again, I like to be consistent with terms, because general public, do they know what framework means? We're talking about zoning regulations, so just use the word regulations.
Yes.
Was this emailed to us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked really well today.
When did we get it? 2 days ago?
2 days?
Yeah, I think a couple weeks ago.
Because I didn't, I would have remembered that.
Regulation.
If I may just interject, I think these are really useful comments. Bear in mind also that one of the processes that we do, because these chapters are written by different people, to try and get the whole document to be as consistent as possible, we do have in-house a professional copy editor who will go through and amend the language a bit to take out things that are awkward and try to get the language as close as possible. So where you may pick up grammatical errors and that sort of thing, those will definitely be picked up in.
Well, it's not necessarily grammatical errors. It's just I want to make sure it flows properly, and just notice. I have some other comments coming up.
No, that's great. I mean, I think, as I said, I think these are useful things that we will note, and you just need to make sure, please, that Sherry is aware that particular things that are being highlighted.
Anything else on the first page?
Nope. Page 2?
Yep.
So the second line says, development pattern that prioritizes single-family homes. I think that should be changed to low-density residential development, because it's not all single-family homes necessarily.
Right.
I think that's kind of a little bit too narrow.
Okay, so low-density residential.
So, and in that first box, it says residential development is the dominant. I prefer most common.
Okay.
And then I would like to strike a result of low-density zoning practices, because it makes it sound like it was intentional, that the zoning was created to just focus on that. I think that the sentence could read.
It was.
It was.
Okay.
That's why we put 2 acre lots.
Okay, and leave that in there. Okay.
All right? That's why the lots in RA.
It's called.
2 acres, yeah.
pull up the drawbridge. Of course it is.
But we also have duplexes that go in there too, not just single-family homes, so, okay.
That wasn't true on the original.
So the sentence that says many neighborhoods lack sidewalks, now you're getting into infrastructure. I'm not sure I like that sentence in there. And residents depend on personal vehicles. Well, that's not going to change. That's always going to be prevalent in a town like Douglas. It's not going to be Cambridge. So if
But this is existing conditions, and it's a true existing condition. If you look at the top chapter, this is existing. So we're going over existing conditions.
But Mike, this is land use. Talking about sidewalks is getting into very specific infrastructure.
I think that's a true fact.
Okay, then don't take it out.
Or is there another statement that would more accurately reflect the kind of low-density neighborhood that we might have maybe more consensus on, or? Because it's not necessarily meant to be like critical, it's just how things are. So if there's a better thing that we can point out that the...
Right, it's staying the fact of the way it is now.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way we want to keep it, but right now, that's it's the fact.
I understand it's existing, but are we going to start talking about potholes? I mean, that's where I'm coming from. It's getting awfully specific, in my opinion. Because we're talking about overall land use and development. That's just my opinion.
Mr. Chair, I have to excuse.
Okay, Ross, thank you. Yep, thank you for coming.
I'm kind of curious, is this going to be in the master plan with these pictures?
We can swap them out for other pictures.
Yeah, maybe we have
Definitely.
pictures that are our town, because that's not any ponds in our town, and that agriculture don't look like anything I've ready to see, and I don't even...
No, these are all Douglas. These are drone photos.
That's Douglas?
Agriculture is Douglas Orchards.
Agriculture is
That's downtown, yes. That pond doesn't look like...
I think that was Lake Manchog. I have...
It's in Sutton.
Yeah, Lake
It
Manchog
doesn't
is
go into
Two-thirds.
Douglas at all?
About a third of Douglas. Well, we're hovering above Douglas, just taking the picture of Sutton.
It's called Manchog Campground.
Okay, so
which
we
is
can
in
swap that
Douglas.
one out then.
But most of that pond is not in Douglas.
Yeah, we can swap that out.
Walden Lake is.
Well, the res.
Well, the res.
I think Kelly Manning has a nice picture of the res from an aerial photo.
Yeah.
We should probably put that in there.
And then where is this agricultural thing? Where is that?
The Douglas Orchards.
Oh, okay, all right, well, we'll leave that then, all right.
So yeah, just to continue through, we basically go over the different land uses in town.
Real quick, industrial areas located near Interstate 395.
I was going to say 395 isn't in Douglas.
There's nothing, well, and,
There's no industry.
well, it is if you go like kind of near the, like Sutton side, but that's all agricultural. There's no industry on that
So
side.
that should be removed.
You know what, there is an industrial, there was a lot of industry located up there until the state took it for the state forest, but there's one section up there now that's right on the line. And then when you say near 395, if you go down Joe Jenny Road and you come into Sutton, there's a
Correct.
big area of industrial there, which is also...
Right down the street from 395.
Close to 395.
That's all Douglas.
But again, that's not Douglas.
Right, that's not Douglas.
This is Douglas, not Sutton, not Oxford.
It's an industrial
Cliff
park.
Street, where it becomes Cliff Street. there's
Correct.
Quite a bit of land there that's in Douglas, and that's close to 395.
I mean, that's a
No,
stretch.
I agree with Bob. I don't think 395 should be mentioned if it's not in Douglas and the land use is not in Douglas.
146, does 146 actually have any land in Douglas?
Yeah.
Yes,
It does.
Yes, it
Very
does.
little, though.
Not much.
No, yeah, you're lucky if you got...
But
Well,
Carol,
it
that's not the
says,
point.
it says they're
Two
located
spikes.
near 146 and
Right.
395.
I mean, when you get on the exit ramps over there on Lackey Dam Road, you were not in Douglas. You're in Uxbridge. Those exit ramps are all in Uxbridge.
Correct.
So I think you can still say that we have it near 395. It does say located near, and if you state 395, it is located near it.
I guess I just don't think of really any of the industrial near 395. I look at that as all being more of the rural, and the industrial's more near 146.
Well, maybe there's something will happen that'll be different.
But this is existing conditions.
These are existing conditions.
So
and there is
if it doesn't exist now, it should not be in there.
Right, it does exist.
Up by 395, right up there on the Webster Douglas Town line, they got a big construction site going on right now on Route 16.
Right.
Which is right down the street from 395.
Right.
But there's nothing there yet.
But there's equipment and earth removal going on. So if you look at most of Douglas, a lot of the town, we're split right in the middle. We're 5 miles to 395 and 5 miles to 146. So you're kind of in the middle of that split. And that's what makes this town so unique, is you're in the middle of both.
It said key industrial areas are located near industrial areas. Doesn't necessarily mean there's anything built on them yet. Because I think we're saying existing,
But we're talking land use. If it's not being used for industrial, it's not currently industrial. If they're not industrial uses, it's not there.
well
This
then why is it
existing.
that we got residential areas that only have trees growing on them? And there's no houses? So you calling those residential?
They're residentially zoned, they're not being used
Well,
for
this is
residential.
industrial
These are
zone.
industrial zones.
So there
Okay,
you
well, I'm
go.
not getting anywhere, it's just, go on.
Anyway, I'm going to argue
Go
with
on.
that little thing, but if you think about it, that's what it is.
To that point,
I want to take a
agree.
step back and just
To that
ask, like,
point,
generally.
I see your
Excuse
point.
me? Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, is there, could someone have like a 1 or 2 minute kind of synopsis of what the purpose of the land use chapter is, like, it's separate from the economic development, like, cause my brain is going toward economic development. I'm trying to decipher the difference of, like, what is this focus exactly?
Maybe I'll let Gabe answer it. Gabe, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think the reason we talk about this is because, I mean, we're talking about, I think it would be more aptly titled a land use and zoning chapter, because we're looking at solutions to things that are primarily through the zoning bylaws and related documents. I mean, I think it's fair to say if you have a district that's zoned industrial, it may not be currently in industrial use, and we can articulate that it's zoned this way, but nothing's built there, which I think could, you can make, then that would give you the case to rezone it, right? If there's nothing built there, industrial, and you don't want industrial there. But if I think looking at the zoning map, it is helpful to kind of think about, at some point, someone thought of this part of town as being an industrial zone, even if nothing went in there. So I think the purpose is to look at existing land use, see how it maybe differs from the zoning, and then that can be part of the recommendations, is to make sure that the zoning is aligning better with what's actually there and also what the town actually wants to go in there. I do think, personally, I think the proximity to 395 and 146, I know they're not in, or 146 is a corner in Douglas. I think it's useful because anything that's near the border, on the Webster side is 5 minutes with no traffic from 395. And similarly, you can get right to 146. And that's part of the land use conversation, is that if there's industrial development there, it's probably because it's near those highways. And if it's zoned there, it's probably because at some point someone thought, oh, this is near the highway, this would be a good place to put industrial. I mean, we are talking about existing conditions, but I think you have to look at what's right over the border, because that does influence where economic development happens.
Right. Yeah, I see. I mean, Douglas is right in the middle of 395 and 146, as far as I'm concerned. Sure, one's 3 miles and one's 5 miles, whatever. I mean, it takes 5 minutes to get to 395. You get off the highway anywhere in Franklin or Rentham, for 5 minutes, you're only going 2 miles anyway. So it's, over here, I mean, we are uniquely situated, which is really nice. So it sounds like it's more about looking at zoning maps and just pointing out a parcel and say, hey guys, what do you think about this one? Should we keep it as it is or change it one way or another? Is that kind of the idea here? Should we just be looking at the map and pointing at parcels?
Oh, was that a question?
Yeah, that's our question. That's our job, right? Isn't that's what we do? Or are we recommending to the zoning board?
It would be
our opinion?
planning board
Okay,
to change the zones.
okay. So I guess our scope and role would be to have a consensus on kind of which direction we're trying to move one way or another?
If I could, through our discussions and through survey and through other devices that we've used, we tried to come up with people's ideas and thoughts and wants and needs are. And then we sort of translate that, and hopefully successfully, that goes into the master plan, so that it'll accommodate what the community wants to see in the next 20 years. So yeah, in essence, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, if there's any serious changes people want to make to the existing conditions section, I'm happy to, I think we're happy to change it to kind of articulate if there's an industrial zone versus industrial land use and, other similar discussions for different zones. We do include like a land use map and the zoning map, so that is visualized. So we could be more particular about how we discuss that. Moving on, we do look at the different zoning districts in town. That there are 8 base zoning districts in Douglas and 2 overlay districts. And then we list them out with their abbreviations in the bylaws. First, we look at the residential zoning. Basically, when you're looking at residential uses in those districts, there's like a big distinction between 20,000 square feet in denser parts of town and 90,000 square feet in less dense parts of town. We get into it, but that's a pretty large difference between zoning district minimum lot size compared to other communities I've seen. 90,000 square feet is about 2 acres, which is, I think, pretty large, but probably appropriate for a very rural district. And then 20,000 square feet obviously is I believe that's under an acre, or a quarter or half acre. So that is quite a big distinction. And then we kind of get into how certain districts have more commercial, uses allowed or not. We talk about the business and industrial zoning, just kind of how there's, village business, commercial districts, and then the industrial land zoned in East Douglas, and then the large district in Douglas State Forest.
I have a question, if I could, please. And if this is not the appropriate place to discuss it, that's fine. But regarding village business, which is our downtown area, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I believe that's the case. And one thing that we had talked about is if downtown, is we're looking to include, create a more vibrant downtown to help accommodate and support businesses. And a vibrant downtown quite often has people living there. And what I would like to see, and I don't think it's in the use regulations now, but greater availability of there being residential units in village business, meaning we have 2-story old brick buildings. It used to be, years ago, that they were mixed use. People would live up top and have businesses down below. So I'd like to be able to accommodate living spaces above. It'll, there'll be more housing available, whatever that is, low, middle income, senior housing, or just general housing. Make that more available, but it also increase foot traffic downtown and better utilize those spaces. So, unless there was some serious objection, I think it would be helpful to have mixed use in that area. Not to take away space from business, certainly, but to accommodate residential development in those spaces not currently being used by businesses.
What's on the second floor now?
Many are empty. Some were professional offices. Years ago, I think there were residences in some of the older buildings.
More similar to like Uxbridge. They have their second floor is pretty well utilized, I think, with a mix of attorneys and things, and then I think the other side of the street is more residential on the second floor. They got more buildings over there, but
And
I think, don't we have that on the other side of the Methodist church, that huge big building? The apartments up there.
Block.
Falcon Block, yeah.
Is that in VB?
What's that?
Is that in Village Business?
Yeah, it is, in the mansard, with the big mansard roof across from the picket fence.
Okay.
Yeah, there are apartments on.
Apartments up above that.
But I looked at the use schedule, and it didn't look very accommodating in terms of residential.
It's probably not, well, there's the thing, some of these places that don't have anything, they probably can't do it now because of the,
That house,
so I think you're right.
that building might be pre-existing.
It was all
Yeah,
pre-existing.
I can tell you, the steps going up to like the second and third floor are steep. Very, very steep.
And little tiny steps.
Yes.
Non-standard. And I think a lot of property owners would tell you that quite often residential rentals are more reliable and a greater source of income for them as opposed to businesses, small businesses who own these buildings. So I think giving owners options is good, and creating more availability of housing would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that when we get to the recommendations, I think that's a very appropriate comment. When we get to the recommendations, we do talk about increasing housing diversity, and we could get more specific about encouraging mixed use in the Village Business District. What we found in a lot of communities is that, like you said, they at one point had buildings that were, 2 or 3 stories tall that were originally built with mixed use in mind, and then, due to a variety of factors, that has shifted over to commercial or vacant or, like you said, professional office uses. But oftentimes, in some towns, there's kind of a reluctance to go towards mixed use, but that's actually in line with kind of the historic development of these buildings. That was the original kind of setup for some of these New England villages, was that sort of mixed use. It wasn't necessarily called that at the time. So I think that would be an appropriate thing to work into the recommendations if the rest of the committee was interested in that. And that would play into kind of the idea of encouraging development where there's already infrastructure and kind of trying to not have too much development on open space. So I think that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Moving on, so we talk about the different zoning districts. I will say the open space zoning for the state forest. I think it's certainly. I think it's probably useful for the goals of Douglas State Forest and preserving it. I would say it's an unusual use, especially when it's so close to the industrial zoning. So I think that might be something for the committee to discuss more today or maybe in the future, kind of how we want to think about zoning for that particular area. It's kind of an odd setup. Usually zoning doesn't necessarily reflect land use. It kind of reflects what your intentions are with the land. So, zoning, my impression was the district seems to shift with the conditions of the state forest if the state purchases land and then they change the zoning. That wasn't clear to me. If someone can clarify that, but that is something that I think we are starting on the zoning diagnostic this year, and I think in the eventual zoning rewrite process that probably we should kind of come to a consensus on how to approach that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's certainly unusual.
I was having a discussion with the town administrator and Bob today, and he has no desire to change that, and we had the assessor come in and explain why it's that way.
I have a comment on that. I was on the past master plan committee. It was one of the recommendations to make that a zone. But since then, 90% of the industrial is state forest.
Right.
So the map you have looks like we have a lot of industrial there, but
we don't.
We have maybe 5% of that gray isn't still usable as industrial.
And I believe the state cannot zone it, rezone it. Rezone it, they buy it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I was there on the original one with Linda as well, and it was recommended we do state forest overlay, so of course we did.
And it passed town meeting.
It passed the town meeting. Well, the assessor then came to us and said, why did you do that? We said because someone said we should. She said they give us money in lieu of taxes. It's not what we were getting when we were getting the taxes, but at least it's money. They base it on the underlying
Correct.
zoning. So the minute you brought down what we were getting back from the state.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it could.
So I think,
but hurt us
I think for the
potentially.
For the chapter, I think we're going to want to articulate. I don't know if that's articulated in the chapter right now. So I think if we explain that, I don't know if we want that in the master plan. I mean, it sounds like it's above. Like the assessor will talk about it. I don't, but I think it's worth talking about kind of the purpose of that. Because certainly when I, as an outsider, looks at the zoning map and I see that there's a state forest and it's half of it zone industrial, that is concerning to me. Not knowing that background, and I would imagine would be concerning to a lay person looking at the zoning map. So I think that's something to because that's talked about in the chapter. So I think explaining that it's about the pilot fees, I think would be helpful.
Yes.
So just to be clear, we're talking about leaving it the same?
Yeah.
Because it really should be state forest open space, and especially the people who sold that land to the state, probably their intention was never for it to be industrial. Whether it should be or not,
I think
you hate to lose that much industrial, but that wasn't the intent.
That's gone forever.
So it's a misnomer. It's a misnomer as it is.
Yeah, I think the idea is that if we keep it zoned industrial, the state will then pay the town these payment in lieu of taxes fees because it's replacing potentially economically generative land.
Correct.
Right? So if you had whatever this is, maybe 1,000 acres of industrial land, if that was all factories, the town would be bringing in a lot of money, tax money, however bad that would be for the environment. So I guess that's kind of there's an economic reason that is happening.
But it sounds like you're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. Right?
I don't know. It certainly doesn't. Like when I think about how a zoning map should work, that's not my first impression. Like you should zone for what you want the thing to be, and the town wants it to stay state forest. But it sounds like there's an economic, a fiscal argument for the town to keep it zoned industrial. So I think explaining that in the chapter would be helpful.
I suggest a map that has a different color on it that says industrial land owned by the state forest. That way we take care of everything.
Right.
We should name it after you, Carol. After all these years, the Carol Zone.
Yeah, I think what I would do is, so instead of coloring like 2/3 of the state forest land green and then it looks like it's just left gray in where it's zoned industrial, I would, because it looks like, just looking at the zoning map, I think what's confusing is that state forest open space is its own zoning district that's green that seems to indicate ownership. Typically, you do not indicate ownership on a zoning map as a zone. So what I would probably do is keep the gray. If that zoning district, that state forest open space zoning district exists, keep it green, and then probably do like a crosshatch or striped overlay on those two zones where it's actually owned by the state to indicate that that's state-owned land.
Yeah.
That's part of Douglas State Forest.
The next map shows that, all of the gray.
Right. I mean on the actual zoning map.
But then it wouldn't be true. It wouldn't be true as of today. Because if you look, the assessors have this zone until it goes to town meeting. That's all the green is. That was voted at a town meeting. We would
right. I would keep the green the same. I just think for clarity, if that might be a solution to make it clear because right now you have this huge gray zone, and it looks like one parcel is part of Douglas State Forest of that gray zone.
If I came through the chair, something that came up 20 minutes ago was keeping it simple, so anybody to show up, look at the map and know what we got.
Yeah.
Right now, this is as confusing as you know what, because it's two different colors. They're saying you can build there, but you can't. like he's saying, take it and either put hash marks through it or make it known to people.
Right.
When they look at the map, you can't build it and you can't buy it. You can show it, but you gotta keep it simple. Otherwise, everything I was talking about 20 minutes ago, just throw it out the door.
Well, that would be for the implementation committee. After we're all done,
Yeah.
changing that would be the best way, would be to go to town meeting and make the State Forest open space zone larger. To be, well, the assessor came in about 5 months ago and said, we don't get any more money for the old industrial, that is now State Forest, than we would for any of the RA. He was here, it's in the minutes.
But what you're saying, what Michael's saying is a separate designation, new designation, keep the revenue, and people will know looking at it that it's not industrial.
Right. Like you said, put a hash mark through it and make a notation underneath it. This is all zone, State Forest and industrial, but all this property in hash mark is owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That way there, people know that you can't buy it.
Right.
That's all that I'm saying. Just keep it simple where you can look at it and know what you're looking at. With the remark or comment in the corner stating the fact, why is it hashed out? This is why. It's owned by the state.
It would be an easy change to bring it to town meeting. Who would say no?
I would.
But it's already done. The assessor said we don't get one penny more for the industrial.
I don't even think necessarily putting hash marks indicating ownership would have to go to town meeting, because that's not a change in the zoning. It's just indicating. It's like if a road changed, you don't have to take the zoning map change to town meeting to indicate that.
Right.
Like the road has to be accepted by the town, obviously, but to actually change the map doesn't require
Zoning map, you have to bring it to town meeting.
Yeah.
We're not changing the zoning map. We're
Okay.
leaving it the same
No,
hash marks.
it has to go to town meeting if you change the zoning map.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right, so the town makes extra revenues
Implementation.
because of these,
right.
some of these parcels?
Right.
Yeah, because it's technically state
But right
forest,
now,
but
it is what
it's
it
zoned
is.
Right now,
industrial, so we
it
get
is what it
industrial.
Check
tax.
that.
Until it gets
Okay,
changed.
so, I mean, so it sounds like the way it is right now is almost like a half measure. Like, why don't we just go like all one way or all the other to keep it simple, right? And if the town makes more, if it's zoned industrial but still state forest, why don't we just make it all industrial then? Like, what's the difference? What's the point of having a little bit if we can't use it anyways?
State's not going to give us any more money. The assessor told us that.
What did he tell you today?
Well, I just talked to Matt today, and I wish he was still online. He explained, he goes, we have no intention of changing that.
I'm sorry.
Like one way or the other?
Excuse me?
Just-
If I could
That's
suggest,
what he said to me.
this will ultimately go, I mean, excuse me, what this chapter is going to suggest is that there should be a review of the zoning bylaw. And these details can be dealt, that review will be a very intensive process which will involve
Lawyers.
Town council.
No, it should. I mean, hopefully the town council may get involved, they often don't. But that will go through line by line, exactly what is the zoning going to look like. It will take into account recommendations that come from the master plan, that sit in the master plan. But what I think I'm hearing is that the master plan committee wants to make it clear what is permitted on that land, and it wants, in that process, not to reduce any revenue that might come from the land.
Yep.
And if that is the recommendation that goes through, then the committee that looks in detail at the review of the zoning bylaw can talk to the assessor and talk to the town administrator and work out exactly what the right thing to do is. I don't think we need to do that in the master plan. So, I mean, I think
We can recommend that it be reviewed.
that it be reviewed in the rewrite of the zoning scheme.
Do we highlight the conflict here, or is that a mixed signal that we would be putting in the master plan?
I don't think that you need to do that, because they will stub their toes on that conflict anyway.
Yeah.
But if the master plan says what we want to do is to make clear what is permitted on that, so that somebody who is looking at the zoning map can understand it, without reducing town income from the pilot arrangement.
And if there's a way to increase the revenue, then we can explore that too.
Yeah, but
Would still make it unbuildable. If it's not an option, it's not, but I think that.
But that's, I mean, I think that if that recommendation goes into the chapter, then it can be dealt with later.
Does that meet everyone's satisfaction at this point? Okay.
Thanks for the summary. That was good.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry for opening that can of worms.
That's what we like.
So I think we can move on to the land use land cover map. So like I said, this is based on DOR, Department of Revenue data. Basically, we can classify, there's 9 different categories. We can classify each parcel as, residential exempt, which is generally state-owned land, multi-use, chapter land, industrial and commercial. And then we have, basically by percentage of land use, 43%, almost 44% of the town is zoned for, is used as residential land. Over a third is used as exempt land, which basically is primarily Douglas State Forest, which is really significant. And then after that, it's all under 10%. Multi-use could be anything that has both commercial and residential on the same parcel, or commercial and industrial on the same parcel. And then chapter land is pretty much land that is privately owned, but then is preserved for primarily like agricultural or open space recreational uses. And so, if you add that chapter land, it's almost as much when you include the chapter land with the exempt land, which is basically preserved land. It's nearly as much land as the residential land. So I think that paints a pretty clear picture about Douglas as a town. It's residential and state forest land, which is kind of neat to see it in percentage.
Who gets to choose the designation for these unknown parcels?
I don't know how that, I'm not super familiar with how DOR is determining that. I think if we wanted to try to figure that out, that would be its own project, driving out to the parcels or talking to the landowners. If we wanted to supplement the data, we could. But like I said, I mean, that would be a whole other project.
Does anyone recognize any of those parcels? Could they just be owner unknown parcels?
Oh, they are, like Bad Luck Cedar Swamp, which is to the left of Bad Luck Pond. That's definitely owner unknown.
Okay.
Even though there's a recreational trails going through it and everything, nobody wants to lay claim.
So I'm assuming the town doesn't get any revenue if it's owner unknown? Okay. That's probably how
There are quite a few abutting the SNET that are owner unknown. And I've talked to the assessor about that, and he goes, yeah, well, it would take an army to
Swamp was
figure
last
it out.
owned by King George, so. I was going to say, literally.
Yeah, that's how far they go back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of white, like along this little stretch of exempt land, stretching from, I guess, it's close to downtown, all the way out to the...
That's the old railroad bed.
That's not...
Okay, so everything south of that, looks like there's a...
It is owner unknown.
Really?
Yeah, and it wasn't part of the railroad either.
And it's landlocked, too.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, it may just indicate that it's, in some of these cases, that it's vacant, but it's not on the books as chapter land. So, another thing that the town could do is to reach out to the landowners and encourage, if it's abutting the state forest or abutting agricultural areas, encourage them to put it on the books as chapter land, which would ensure if it's sold in the future, it would help maintain its current state. But yeah.
Well, there are no owners, that's what
Okay.
why the assessor doesn't pursue it, because it would take
Yeah.
a lot of money to figure out who owned that land, and contact the owners
So can the town take it?
by eminent domain, and it's like, why?
Why?
There's no
Can I
access
take
to
it?
it.
Yes.
And the state
It
doesn't
proved-
want it because it costs money to figure out who owned it. You can't just take it, you've got to research it.
Also,
It was like that land for the cubes.
wetlands,
It
also,
was like owner unknown.
I think this is worth getting in, like maybe getting into the pilot fee situation. I think explaining that, because when I saw this map, I also was surprised at the number of unknown parcels.
Yeah.
So I think kind of explaining that,
Here.
you know, the assessor has looked into this. There, you know, we don't have clear ownership records, and it would be a process to figure that out. Maybe that, you know, I think that would be helpful to give context to the map. So I think we should move on and get into the key findings and priorities, if everyone's okay with that.
Sure.
So I think the key finding 1,
32 minutes.
residents prioritize conservation of open space and support targeted commercial growth and housing diversity along major corridors. And we have some quotes from the master plan survey. While we certainly need more affordable housing options for all and some more businesses and services, I believe we should be doing all we can to use the land we've already prepped for development or what is already zoned for industry and business. We don't need more suburbia. Use that land for better things and avoid tearing down our rural areas and woods as much as possible. I love Douglas because I was able to get away from the rampant destruction of open and natural spaces such as Franklin, only to find Amazon and other warehouse going up all over the place. It's extremely disappointing. Less state-controlled space and more where the town gets to decide on land use. Too many external forces decide what happens with our land. I don't know if we can address that so much, but I think that indicates you know, some of the sentiment. If there's any tension with the state forest.
We like the forest, just
So
not
I
the
think
state.
we want to. Oh, sorry.
So we like the forest, just not the state.
So I think part of that is looking at sustainable growth. So looking at small-scale commercial development, hopefully locally owned. Looking at restaurants, pharmacies, grocery stores, and small shops and personal services. And then residents want to see that commercial growth be concentrated, just such as in the downtown core and along Route 16. Looking at residential development. So we can, it's been primarily single-family homes on relatively large lots, except for those districts that have 20,000 square foot minimums. But again, that's still the minimum. And the housing and population chapter gets into it, but there is some demand for a wider range of housing options for first-time home buyers and residents who might want to downsize. So I think we want to look at introducing moderate density options, such as smaller single-family homes, ADUs, which are, as of recently required by the state, duplexes and cottage-style developments. And obviously addressing this will require changes to zoning and land use policies.
If I may touch on that, with this new ADU law that just came through, I wonder what that's going to do to the landscape in the next 10 years. Because they're pretty hot right now, right, John? You must be seeing a lot of them, because I am.
Well, we see accessory apartments. We haven't tweaked it yet at town meeting, so I don't know how many we'll see. I mean, since I've been here, about 3, 4.
Really, I don't know. I'm starting to see them kind of
ADUs?
ADUs all over the place. Because now all of a sudden you can put 2 houses on a single lot.
Maybe, we haven't seen it yet.
I hope it's coming. So I'm just wondering how that'll affect, the long-term plan here. That's all.
Well, does it effectively cut the property size in half from the, 2 acres?
No.
You get 2 houses?
No. Nope.
On
No.
the same 2 acres?
But now you got 2 houses.
Almost in any zone.
The ADUs have to be, the state requirements, so the town has to allow ADUs, but only up to a certain size, and it's up to the town if they want to go over that size. And I believe it's 900 square feet
Yes.
is the maximum size that the state can require. So
Or half of
it's
the.
pretty small.
Or half of the square footage of the existing dwelling, whichever is less.
Yeah. So if you had a 1,000 square foot house, it could only be 500 square feet. So it's pretty limited in size, and you can require that it kind of is integrated into the look of the house too. So it's not, there's ways that the town can kind of work with the state law to, prevent things they don't want to happen with it. There are towns that have kind of basically done what you're talking about, where you can basically have a second house on the lot, and the state, is fine with that, but that the town is not required to have that at this point, and I don't think they will.
In practice, the biggest constraint is septic tanks.
Just thinking that.
Because it's very expensive to expand, and most houses don't have a system that's certified for the extra bedrooms that would be involved. So even towns that are encouraging ADUs, the development is not as quick as was expected because of the Title V issue.
Well, just my opinion of what I'm seeing, already I'm seeing a half a dozen that I'm working with right now in the surrounding towns. And, septics is not there's ways around that. I mean, they upgrade existing systems, or the state just passed a law for ADUs that you could put in a 1-bedroom septic to accommodate an ADU, which that was never allowed before. But the state's trying to encourage these ADUs, so they're bending the rules to make it work. So this has been, the state passed this regulation about a year ago, correct? So just my small little business, I'm dealing with about 6 of them.
Really?
So.
I have a question on the septic and the bedroom. I mean, I live in a split ranch. It was a 3-bedroom, but we renovated the downstairs and made it a bedroom. So now it's a 4-bedroom. Of course, we only use 1 bedroom. But when you go with the septic size from a 3-bedroom house to 4, or if we wanted to, is it a state law that requires the number of bedrooms to the size of the septic?
It's building code.
Building code.
It has nothing to do with like town zoning necessarily?
Well, it's a building
Code
code,
of health.
Title V.
Yeah.
Which triggers
Right.
how big the system has to be. So, yeah, many people go in and, do their own renovation, add an extra bedroom, but, the assessors called it 3-bedroom, and then all of a sudden somebody has a 4-bedroom, but the septic system was a 3-bedroom. Well, then it becomes a problem.
The thing is, you'll probably find that 2 or 3 of your bedrooms are studies.
Right.
But when you have an accessory dwelling unit, then it's necessarily a bedroom. So you find even if the building inspector turns a blind eye to the fact that you have more studies or offices in your house than you have bedrooms, they can't so easily turn a blind eye to the fact that the accessory dwelling unit must have a bedroom in it, otherwise it isn't an accessory dwelling unit. So, but I mean, certainly the state is keen to promote them, and I mean, I'm interested that you're hearing, that you're seeing that many. They will make a difference, but the Title V is the big constraint.
Well, but there's ways in every one I've done so far, there's, You have a piece of property and you have an opportunity to put an ADU on there for your kids or your parents, they're going to do that and, just include the septic upgrade or the new septic system with it. It's still a whole lot cheaper than buying a whole new lot and developing that. Now all of a sudden you can have it all on your existing property.
People used to do that years ago. 60, 70 years ago, they did that all the time. They put a house behind them. My friend, their grandparents had a house, and then their mother and father had a little house behind it, and then the aunt and uncle were over there. And you know what? The world didn't come to an end, and you had kept families together, and a lot of the stuff they're coming up with now is what people used to do before they came up with zoning, like being able to live above your business downtown, and all the things that all the smart people now are figuring out are great, the things that people figured out before they had zoning.
It's true, it's going to provide generational housing, and there's a need for it now.
Oh, yeah.
It's expensive housing.
I live in an ADU, generational housing, so, yeah.
So I think, just so we can get through this today. I think we want to move on to the second key finding, that there are changes to the maps and bylaws that can improve clarity, consistently, and alignment with current development patterns.
Can I make a comment quickly? Can we just add the word current and desired? Because when this is a plan for the future, so we want to look at our zoning. We're not looking at zoning for right now only. We're looking at future desired development patterns as well.
And that's on key finding 2?
Yes.
Yeah. We're on key finding 2.
It's the title. It's the title.
The opening.
Current patterns.
Current and desired
And desired.
development patterns.
Add and desired.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good change.
So one issue that came up is split parcels, and you can see that on the zoning map. So that's basically, you'll see the frontage, often, the front of the lot is zoned one type of zoning district and the back of the lot is zoned a different type of zoning district. I think in Douglas, I saw 1 or 2 that maybe had 3 zoning districts cover the parcel. So that's kind of a straightforward thing to work on in the zoning rewrite process. But it can create a lot of confusion because if you want to, different towns have different rules about how to approach that. And when we're talking about, working with developers and that sort of thing, you want it to be clear what the lot is actually supposed to be used for. And even, you don't want it such where they're only going to build on half the lot. Because that can, if someone buys a 2-acre lot and they feel like they can only build on half of it, I mean, they might, be less inclined to buy it because they'll feel like they're not getting their money's worth. Or it might lower the price of the lot.
It's like having a wetland.
Something else.
Like that, though. I mean, is that much different? If it's 2 different zones versus having, a residential land with half of it being wetlands?
It is, and I agree with looking at split zones because every town I've worked in has split zones. In Rainham, if you go down 138 or 495, they set up their zoning districts to be a certain amount of feet from the center line of the roadway, and it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare, and so.
I can give you the history on how that happened, because I'm the old lady here that's been here forever. In 1970, when zoning came in, you see I got all those maps showing what everybody owns? Nobody knew who owned anything. There were no maps that showed who had land parcels anywhere. No one had anything on that. So they just took the map and they took a thing and they drew lines. And then after, it was years later, when people really found out who owned this part and who owned that part, that you ended up with the split zones.
But you do want to be careful, because in the case of Rutland, if you go south on Route 53 towards Paxton, they have a lot of split zone lots that are zoned town center in the front and residential in the back. You do want to look at each parcel individually, because some parcels are deeper than others. And if you rezone something all too commercial, it could extend deeper, closer to a neighborhood than you really want. So it really does need to be almost like a parcel by parcel basis when you look at these.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's kind of a couple of different ways to approach it. You can either I mean, you want to look parcel by parcel, but when you do your first, sort of run at it, is either look at what is the frontage or what is the majority of the parcel. Those are like kind of the two. And then from there, you can kind of go parcel by parcel. The second thing that I think we should look at is the waterfront zoning in Douglas. So around the lakes and ponds, there are clusters of small parcels that are well below the minimum lot size requirements for the rural agricultural district that they're part of. And so this could introduce a number of problems, primarily that it could, if something is built on one of those lots, it could, incur a variance for very simple things to happen on that lot. And so I think we want to preserve that lakefront area. So I think if we were to develop a waterfront zoning district, it would provide us a unique opportunity to both kind of figure out, okay, well, we want residential stuff to go in here. What do we want that residential stuff to look like? And then also to introduce any sort of environmental protections to those zones to protect the waterfront.
Gabe, I'm a little bit confused on the intent on the intent of the zone. I mean, talking to the building commissioner, the state says if you have a lot that pre-exists zoning, you can build on it as long as you have at least 50 feet of frontage and X amount of square footage. So in a lakefront area in particular, a lot of these lakefront areas were built as summer homes and were never meant to be year-round homes. But now they're becoming year-round homes. And particularly when I was in Rentham 10 years ago, we had problems with nitrogen loading from septic systems going into the water. So that's something that the Mass DEP was really coming down on, and they were encouraging a town like Rentham to get off septic systems and go to municipal sewer to reduce that nitrogen loading, because the nitrogen will kill the aquatic life. And so I'm a little confused as far as what's trying to be, what the purpose of that zone would be. Is it to encourage more development around the lakes, or is it to protect the lake because you can't necessarily do both?
And if I may, this is the situation you have up at Wallen Lake. Exactly what you said. There used to be all these little cottages, and all these little cottages with cesspools that go right down into the groundwater. So all these cesspools that are still active up there on some of those cottages, it's going directly into the groundwater. So every time one of these systems get upgraded, and one at a time they are, when they go to sell these properties, now you're getting these systems that are up near the surface and out of the groundwater. So it's definitely an improvement than what you have there now, because now up there in the terraces, you have that slope, and with, dozens of cesspools, or probably more than that, and it's just all flowing downhill, underground, and right into the lake.
And a lot of these properties, because near the lake, are governed by Mass DEP and the Conservation Commission. So you're not going to be able to avoid complications of developing on these properties simply because of where they are.
Well, they have to. If you've got one of these tiny little cottages, with a failed septic in a well, they have to let you fix it. If you've got a cottage that's there, they have to let you fix it. And so when you're on these little lots, 100 by 100, and everybody's got wells all over the place, and so you and you're asking for variances galore in order to be able to fit something in that lot.
Right. So I don't know how you solve that. The lots are what the lots are.
Well, that's it. It's either can fit a septic system in there, or you put tight tanks.
And when the text says to come up with setbacks for septic systems, the Board of Health regulates that.
Yeah, but you have to.
No, but I'm saying you're not going to change those. That's a Board of Health regulation.
Well, you got Board of Health, and then also too, I'm dealing with some, because they're pre-existing non-conforming lots. Anybody's going to, replace one of those cottages, then they got to go before the ZBA, because they're, obviously those little 20 by 10 cottages, they put in a full-blown house, and you got to get zoning. A special permit from the zoning board, and then the Conservation Commission, and then the Board of Health. So you got to go through all three of the boards in order to do what you want.
But doesn't that make sense? Because it's an environmentally sensitive area. You should have to go through some things to get an approval because
Oh, yeah,
everything's so
yeah, no,
tight.
I-
So that's why I'm wondering what the intention of the waterfront zoning is.
Can I ask her a question?
I mean, we can cut it if wanted, but I think this is part of the discussion is what do people want to do in those areas? And like, I mean, I think it should be looked at. I don't think there's a clear solution that we're going to come to today. But I'm happy to cut it if it's a little too broad for the chapter.
When you designed those the newer systems and stuff, did that take care of that nitrogen loading problem?
Not unless you want to get into these fancy recirculating sand filters, which cost a fortune. So, but the best thing you can do is get off the cesspool and get the system up and out of the groundwater.
If I can to the chair, one thing, I think Bill Cundiff was still here. This came in front of the planning board once before, rezoning waterfront, and it got shot down. They said the way it is works. It was going to be too messy. There was no real clear directive on just changing zoning around water. And a lot of it was because of the small parcels. But some parcels were big parcels, some were small parcels. So it was going to create more of a problem than it was a help. They said, it's hard to do it right now, but it works. And I think that's why I'm going back at least 10 years, it got shot down and said, no, we're not going to change make a zoning district just for around water.
And in talking to the building commissioner about this today, going into this meeting and this particular item, he said that the ZBA is really very fair. They're not. They don't put applicants through unnecessary steps or drag things out. So he said, the ZBA at least is very reasonable when it comes to, expansion, pre-existing non-conforming, or variances, or what have you.
And I think that's why the planning board, I think it even went through meetings and everything on this subject. But it got.
So are we recommending that the waterfront zoning paragraph just get excised right out of the document?
Well, 20 years from now, it might be different. I'm not saying
10 years from now, it might
just
be
to keep it, 20 years from now, you might have to have it.
You know what?
I think it would be helpful to explain because we're talking about existing conditions. I think it is an unusual pattern of parcel. I mean, it's not unusual. It's present in a lot of communities, but it's a unique situation. I think it would be helpful to explain this is what's going on. You look at the parcel map, you have a ton of these small parcels in what is supposed to be a district with 2-acre zoning. I think I'm happy to cut the recommendations related to it, but I do think we should explain, this how it works there, and that these there were concerns with the systems are getting upgraded. It's all pre-existing uses, and we don't really want development around there anywhere. I think it's worth kind of having a paragraph getting
I just
into
questioned
that.
where is the desire to do this coming from what you said, Mike, has there been an outcry for something to be done?
And to what effect?
Right.
It was brought up, I think, by, I don't know, residents brought it up or whatever back in the town, a few residents. But like I said, 20 years from now, you might need it. You might have to have it. So I'm not saying get rid of it here. This is a 20-year plan. This isn't what we're doing next week. But I'm saying at the moment, there's a reason why it was looked into and it got squashed. No.
I'd like to say something. It doesn't say that we have to change any of this stuff.
Right.
It says we should look at it.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying.
And I don't think we should then knock it out of there. I think we should look at it. But could we look at it and do some in-depth thing on it, say, no, we're not changing anything?
Yep, that's absolutely
But I
right.
don't think that there was really that much looking into it at the time. I remember that quite a few years ago.
It was looked into for quite a while.
Somebody just asked about it, and they said, no, we didn't want it.
No, that's not true.
I don't remember any great
I think
stuff.
Bob made a comment right now. To what end? That's what my question is as an outsider. What would you want to accomplish with this?
But I think what you're saying is you're looking at the end. I'm saying we should just at least look at it and then make a decision. I don't think we should knock it out of looking at it.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying why.
John, sorry, Bob.
This ends with, by adopting zoning that supports reinvestment and protects water quality, the town can better steward these assets. That's a recommendation.
Right.
Yeah, so we can take that part out.
Yeah, I would.
So,
Any recommendation language, we'll take that out. We'll
Yeah,
just
I think
make
that's
it
a good idea.
objective, and this is how it is at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
and nothing we say or do in this plan will change.
Correct.
Conservation, Mass DEP, town bylaws, existing zoning. It's just not going to change it.
Correct.
Everyone satisfied with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Next.
So the next thing is looking at the minimum lot size requirements. Again, I think we're starting the diagnostic process. There will hopefully be a rewrite process where we can kind of get into more detail. But I think it is unique that there's kind of this sharp divide between 20,000 square feet in some parts of town up to 9, with no break, looking specifically at residential stuff, up to 90,000 square foot minimum in other parts of town. Typically, towns that I work with, it's more gradual. You'll have like a half-acre district, a 1-acre district, a 2-acre district, just for simplicity's sake to explain it. So, and that usually progresses with infrastructure. So I think it does indicate that, you know, if we want to look at sort of moderately scaled housing, that is a window to, or, you know, a potential opportunity to encourage that, is to potentially, you know, look at some of those 90,000 square foot zones. Do we actually want 2-acre land there? Do we want to be able to allow some more housing options? Because that is quite low density for a residential area, appropriate for a rural agricultural area, but, you know, for some parts of Douglas closer to downtown, that might not. You might be encouraging more sprawling land uses at the expense of, you know, you're still using that land for residential uses, but you're not, you know, getting the housing capacity that you need. So I think that's something to look at.
Well, is that something we need? And is that something we want? Or
That was my question, is has there been a desire to do this?
Right. Because we could go
anyone
to
in
3 or
town saying
4 acres too.
we
if we
need
wanted.
these other moderately sized lots?
Yeah, I don't want small lots in my area. You know, I bought land for 2 acres, I've got 10. I don't want neighbors.
To me, in
That's
my
rural.
opinion,
Maintain the
encouraging
rural
this
character.
type of density where you don't have existing infrastructure,
Yeah.
isn't that sprawl?
The whole reason why there are 2 acres in RA is because, like, where I live on the corner of Perry and Southeast Main, there were like 12 lots cut out like the month before zoning went in, and they're all 1 acre or less, and I'm on one of them.
Right, and you've got an affordable house.
Well, it's 40 by 24.
Yeah, you have an affordable house because they were building on small lots.
But a couple of my neighbors have big houses on the 1
Why are they
acre.
building these $1 million houses now? All they're building is $1 million houses, that's why.
Because they have to
But I'm
support
saying that
land.
there are areas that do have 1 acre in RA, right around me. I mean, it's kind of almost like spot.
Yeah, again, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, so are you making the recommendation
Where
that we
is-
should have more of it? Or are you upset because we have the 1 acre when it should be 2?
And there's never, ever going to be water and sewer out there.
To Mike's point about waterfront zoning, I'm not saying this should be taken out, this idea, because again, it'll be part of the zone diagnostic, but maybe that's where this gets fleshed out and this gets analyzed. But I was just curious as far as where the support for this, the desire to do this came from.
Well, we're supposed to be looking out a bunch of years, so you're saying, where did it come from? Why, if we don't, if nobody even came here and said, oh, let's change stuff and let's have a master plan. Bill, he said, we haven't had a master plan in 20 years, it's time. That's all we got. So what are we doing here if we're not going to look at different ideas? I'm not saying we have to adopt them, but we have to look at them.
Yeah, let's
And
talk
that's the
about it
whole
all.
idea.
Yeah, right.
So I think we need to look at all of these ideas. I'm not saying we have to do them, but we need to look at them. That's why we're having a master plan, so that we can look at ideas.
So is there a recommendation to reduce lot sizes and
We don't
increase
know.
density? I mean, it's an open question to.
Well, there's a
is there
stated
anybody here
goal of affordability, and smaller lots are more affordable, just fundamentally. So
But I mean, we
it's a
do
valid
have
question.
in place. We have the flexible design bylaw, which allows you to do smaller lots with lesser frontage on a piece of property, so that's not stopping you from doing that. We have Chapter 40B, which is being proposed right now on Southwest Main Street. So we do have things in place to take advantage of these options on the lot sizes that are there. So.
And sometimes the larger 2-acre lots are meaningless, because look at, on Southeast Maine, they're building these $1 million McMansions. The wetland is 40 feet behind the house. They have no land, they have frontage, and that's it. And you've got $1 million homes there.
There's a subdivision, a large subdivision in Rutland with over 100 homes, where they're, right behind the house is a cliff. The driveway goes right up to a huge retaining wall. So you've got to be careful with that too, because now you reduce lot sizes. Now they're still building those McMansions and they don't have any yards.
That's right.
That's
Yeah, so 1 acre or 2 acres really doesn't matter.
Do you think these people even want yards?
They don't want the ticks. They don't want the kids playing outside.
They're not going outside. That's why they have 5,000 square foot houses, because they never have to go outside. If you go by the subdivisions today, go on a nice snow day.
So much for the rural character.
Go on this nice snowy day when there's no school, and see how many kids are outside playing.
None. Zero.
They're all sitting inside
On the
in their
phone.
big houses and playing on their video games.
So what's the recommendation?
So where are we going with this?
I think people want all these big, they need these big lots.
Yeah, it's going in circles.
Sorry, Margaret.
Just real quick, yeah. So sometimes this 2-acre lot can be a little misleading, because some engineers or developers, I mean, have the lot you can't even use, because you create the buildable lot and then a big long tail.
Right.
You know,
Oh, God.
Or dog leg.
Douglas has so many of those, the oddly
Well,
shaped.
you know, Douglas doesn't have the shape factor in
Right.
there. There's their
Right.
bylaws,
Correct.
which would
That
correct
was rejected by
problem.
the planning board.
That was rejected
Yes.
too?
Before I started here,
Yeah.
as they start to look at the subdivision rules and regs, that was considered. I was going to bring it up as far as lot shape factor, and I was told that they considered it, but ultimately decided not to go with that.
Okay.
So it's these lively debates that make this committee interesting. It really does. And we usually come out on the other end pretty good. But we're running up against the 2-hour.
Yeah.
The magical 2-hour thing. And I chafe at this. I'm kind of a nonconformist, and you're a conformist.
I just don't want to get us in trouble.
He doesn't want, he keeps me out of trouble.
I got the Attorney General sitting over here.
Bob's a good guy. He'll give me a tap on the shoulder. We're going to do this.
Or a kick under the table.
So the question will be, we have to take a vote, I believe.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, they want to extend the meeting 15, 20 minutes, keeping in mind that Sarah is working on showing that video. So if we can include that video and you guys want to stay, that's fine.
Yeah, but we've got quite a bit left.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if we're going to get through it.
We're not going to get through it.
Half hour?
Half hour, I'll make a motion to extend this meeting to 7:30.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Bob, seconded by Michael. Any further discussion? We have to do roll call vote.
Bob and Eric, aye.
Linda Brown, aye.
Carol Goggins, aye.
Margaret Bacon, aye.
Becca LaValle, aye.
Rob Moran, aye.
Mike Swicker, aye.
Gordon Larrabee, aye.
Dan Mascroft, aye.
Rich Preston, aye. And is Meg still with us?
No, she actually dropped off to go to the other meeting.
Okay.
We actually didn't have to.
The ayes have it.
All right. So just to, moving forward to the recommendations, there were specific recommendations about the waterfront zoning and minimum lot size things. We can strike those for now, but we can move on to the recommendations. And then there's also some language under additional zoning bylaw opportunities about the industrial land. I would strike that personally, and then move that's on page 13. We can strike that and kind of just include language in the existing conditions explaining what's going on with the industrial zone in the state forest a little more clearly.
On page 13, those last two paragraphs are really the sweet spot for, I think, under zoning, what we want to do. We want to do a diagnosis. I think, like a lot of towns, Douglas's zoning bylaws are antiquated and need to be looked at. So, to me, those two should be highlighted. The zoning bylaws, the zoning map, the use table, I think those are big things that need to be done. So I think those should be brought to the forefront, in my opinion.
Yeah, we can, because I think we should cut the waterfront zoning and lot size recommendations for now, and maybe turn those into recommendations. So moving on to recommendations, we have goal 1, promote sustainable land use practices throughout the community. And then action item 1.1 is promoting and encouraging agricultural protection restrictions. Basically, it's a state tool that allows landowners, it's a voluntary state tool that would allow landowners to protect their land from development pressure, specifically farmland. And so that's something that the town can work with. There's different regional organizations that can provide input. I've done some work on this in Rutland, where we worked with MDAR, USDA, to kind of get the word out about APR. So that would kind of be encouraging landowners to put their land into conservation, which can be about like that sort of that chapter land concept. Something else. Action item 1.2 would be looking at transfer of development rights bylaw, which would basically allow the town to move their development away from sensitive natural areas and towards sort of these areas in East Douglas where you want to see development happen.
So I have concerns about this. Transfer of development rights, I think I've spoken on this before. It's normally in areas like a town like Stoughton with multiple commercial districts, multiple levels of residential districts, because you need sending and receiving, and what's the value of the sending parcel versus the receiving parcel? And I think I'm not saying take it out, but I'm not sure this will be appropriate for a town like Douglas. Because I don't know if Douglas will ever have the refined zoning and the multiple types of districts to have a sending area and a receiving area.
Don't we have something like this already? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Because we talked about it the last time, about doing it.
Yeah.
Doing what?
This transfer of development rights.
Right.
It was on the thing.
Because a town like Stoughton has multiple commercial districts. They have a commercial district in the north, right near Route 139 and Route 24. So if there's no space there, they can move it to another commercial district in the south, like, say, Campanelli Industrial Park or something like that. They have multiple areas of commercial industrial district that you can move things around. And I'm just not sure Douglas will ever have those multiple areas to be able to develop, not develop here, but develop there. That's just, I'm not saying take it out. I'm just skeptical that this would ever work in a town like Douglas. That's just my opinion.
Put it in, and then you see.
It's not that simple.
Did you want to?
It is a complicated policy to implement. But it is like one of the clear tools that a town could try to implement. But I think John may be right, especially under the current like zoning conditions. I don't know. It's probably easier said than done.
Yeah, if you want
is how I'll say
in there that it would take changes to the zoning districts and more refined levels of commercial zoning to implement it, that would be fine. So it's up to you, Gabe. If you want to do a qualified or something, like I said, I have concerns about this being a tool that Douglas could utilize in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we would want to see how the zoning rewrite turns out. To be totally honest, because like I do think the town, if they wanted to, has the opportunity to have more gradiated or whatever, like I talked about with the minimum lot size, kind of gradations between 20,000 square feet and 90,000 square feet. I think there's an opportunity to kind of look at the commercial zoning and the village zoning. And if we're talking about promoting mixed use and village zoning, well, there's probably going to be areas where we want to promote more straightforward commercial development, and areas where we don't want mixed use to happen. So I think if the zoning rewrite, depending on how the zoning rewrite goes, we could end up with a more complicated zoning bylaw and zoning map.
By the way, I agree with Carol's statement before, because being from the Woonsocket area, down at the social area where they used to have a lot of residential, they had shops on the first floor, furniture shops, everything, and residential above. They knocked it all down. Now they're trying to get it back. It's like, so that was spot on by Carol, that we had in the 1950s and the 1940s and the 1960s, the 15-minute neighborhood. My wife grew up in one of those 15-minute neighborhoods where she said she grew up in Woonsocket. She goes, I never even went to the town of Franklin until I was in my 20s because I didn't have to. So they had those walkable, she grew up in those walkable communities within the city of Woonsocket with the little butcher shops and the shoe shops and everything. And it got taken away, and now they're trying to get it back. So it's funny how that happens.
So action item 1.2, that should actually be a recommendation instead?
No, I think explore is a good word, but if Gabe wants to add some language kind of cautioning that it would take the right circumstances for this to work, I think that might be helpful.
Say it at the end. Yeah. Fully crafted and supported by clear mapping. TDR program can become a key component.
Yeah. So yeah, it's up to you, Gabe. If you want to add something in, you can. But I'm just trying to. Again, I'm just expressing, my view of it, and it's going to take some pretty significant changes to zoning for this to work in the future, which may happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the committee. I'm happy to add language to it. I do think, we are looking in the coming decades, and you want to make sure you have all the tools available to, especially the land around the state forest. You want to make sure it's protected in the way that the town wants it to be. So, just trying to keep options open on my end.
Yep.
Unless you can pull it up, I don't know if that would be easy though, because you're already. I think I should, because it's online. If you do the screen. Douglas, you have to use a small video on YouTube, it should come up. But if not, I can try. I don't know if it'd be easier since you already have screen share. Otherwise, I'll try to just share it. But it's right.
You can see the video? Almost there.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Sarah, I just sent it to Emily.
Oh, okay.
I sent your email to Emily.
Get up across.
Full screen.
There it
Is the audio going to work though?
Full screen, yeah.
You might have.
Full screen?
Wonderful Swan System, K-12. Is it going to echo?
Okay.
I wonder if it would echo. Let me,
Yeah, I think you have to do something from your end to stop the echo, because that's what we before.
Yeah, isn't there?
yeah, you
plug it
should
in
have to
somewhere?
mute, so maybe I'll pull it up and I'll try.
Tim put a necktie for the show.
He was sweating his butt off.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
He was sweating. His shirt was soaked at the end of that.
It'd be easier just to email it out to everyone.
But that's why you see it
Yeah,
together,
but-
so we could talk about it. It'll only take a minute. They'll figure it out.
It's only 6 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah, but we're too far away. I can't even hardly see it.
You'll be able to hear it.
I could find it on the internet easily.
In the meantime, anyone with folders to pass me? So I don't have to
Oh,
collect
like
at the
this?
end? And go chasing.
You don't matter.
Because Jen will find you.
Those are mine.
Oh, do you have-
Are you also? I'll need that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
'cause I'm in it.
Yes. There it is.
This was a
Are we done with, we're still doing your stuff, right? Or are we doing this now?
It's expansive.
You got another one?
We have a lot of state forest, a lot of town forest. It's beautiful, beautiful country. People come to live and work and raise their families here because it is a little bit off the beaten path.
I don't have
Residents, the community really expects high level of service. We've got wonderful school systems, K through 12. We've got a fully functioning water and sewer department. We've got a very robust library. We have an accredited police department. We have a 24/7 fire department that also couples as our emergency management as we try and balance the levels of service that townspeople today desire with the ability to pay for it through our existing tax base. It was very clear that we needed to bring in new business.
We needed about a 10% increase in the tax base of the town in order to be able to sustain the services that have been provided today. In Massachusetts, state law limits the amount of tax increase that you can put on real estate taxpayers to 2.5% a year. It's called
The counter.
The town applying for a rebate. Votes to put it on the ballot. At the election, we actually won the override by 14 votes out of close to 3,000 cast.
So with that, the ayes have it.
We're in the throes of a Proposition 2.5, a tax override. There was no funding available from the town. We needed some type of economic development, and we needed it fast. The infrastructure just was not there. So that told me that we had to go to outside sources of funding.
Oh, you still brown here, huh?
Did you get your hair done? And then I applied to the federal EDA for another grant, and they came through as well. So we funded this project basically with almost $7.3 million in federal and state funds.
The scale of this project was a large one for a small system. It was fairly quick. We had to cram about a year's worth of engineering into about 5 to 6 months in order to make this project come to fruition to meet the contractor's needs. There was a lot of coordination between the town, the contractors, the engineers. We had material on hand, so we got really competitive bids, so it helped us come in under budget.
Douglas had newer versions like doing the hard work. And I have to credit every department within the town of Douglas for digging in hard, learning about the project niceties and what was involved. They communicated. They told me what they liked about the project. They told me what they didn't like about the project. After we had a plan on the table that satisfied the needs of all the stakeholders, they went into implementation mode. And what that meant is they became the teacher for me. They taught me their process. They guided me on what to submit. That's inside the building. For us, a perfect scenario and the outcome that we expect is that some company finds this building and makes it their home. Now, when that happens, that's when the benefits compound. Tenant moves into a building, main value increases, more tax revenues for the town. When operations ensue, that means more jobs. Job creation is never a bad thing. When you see a project like this and the success that it has, it increases the value of a location and the reputation of a location to sort of bring in supportive amenities and different types of development that does increase tax base just because of the success that a project shows.
So the impact of economic development on the town of Douglas so far, the projects we have already built, is about 10% increase to the tax base. So we achieved our goal. But the infrastructure that we built is probably going to unlock another $500 million worth of investment because it made a site pad ready, so to speak. So now we have all the utilities stuck at the curbside. There's a very large sand and gravel pit that is going to be sold to the same developer that built the warehouse in Douglas for additional buildings, which is going to have a very big impact on the town for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's really important for us as a town to find those new monies, those new tax dollars in order to fund the very services that our townspeople are looking for. And that is really what we're looking for with the cubes at Gilboa and any other development that we have in town. We maintain that rural character. The biggest piece to that is the location of the new world-class facilities. They are nestled closer to the highway, and with some good traffic controls, we should see traffic come in and out as soon as it comes, thereby not really impacting the town in a terrible degree. Really excited about the town. We're doing some really wonderful things. We've got a really good school program that's sending kids off to some really quality institutions. People that live in this town, that grow up in this town, look very fondly at their time here. I know, just speaking for my two kids, Douglas is home. Douglas is where they grew up. Douglas is where they learn to make mistakes, to learn to grow, learn to succeed, and it's just a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family.
How many times did you hear the word rural? Quite a few.
I should have gotten your autograph.
Can you post that on YouTube or the Douglas website or something?
It's on the website.
It is on there. It's just, you got to scroll through everything to find it.
On YouTube.
It's on Douglas's channel, which is on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube under the Douglas case.
Pause it.
Every time you fill up, or if you're sick of watching your...
Could have been worse. It could have been hacked.
Oh, again.
It could have been worse.
With what we just watched, I have one correction.
Good.
Page 3.
You're right, it is on YouTube. All right.
Page 3, under industrial. The last sentence in that box, most notably at the new large-scale facility at the Cubes. It might not be the Cubes. There's a tenant working on signing documents as we speak.
And it won't be new in 15 years either.
Oh, you mean the video? Video needs to be corrected, not
No,
this?
because
Well, what's
we
the
don't
correction?
want,
Oh, that?
we don't want to refer to it as the Cubes as it is
Yeah,
right
most
now.
notably at a new large-scale warehouse
Facility
facility.
in Douglas.
Yeah, or a
On
facility
Gilboa
located
Road.
in
Off of
whatever.
what
On
street?
Gilboa Street in Douglas. On Gilboa Street.
That's a good
in
catch.
Douglas.
Perfect. So when we're going back to like the economic development chapter and we're referring to the cubes, should we also retract that language? and
Some of the
keep more
places you can leave it.
Okay.
Because they were the
Yeah, because let's make it more confusing. We don't want uniform.
So you want to emphasize on who was the builder and all that on it.
Yeah, CRG refers to the Cubes at Gilboa.
Changes.
And the Pine site was supposed to be the Cubes at Pine. That's how, when I talked to Frank Rakunas, that's how we differentiate the two properties.
But for our purposes, for master plan, exactly as it is right now, it's still called the Cubes.
Yes.
So,
But by the time this is printed before the planning board,
okay.
it won't be.
The Cubes will no longer be called the Cubes?
No.
Okay.
It is if we say it is. We can always call it the Cubes.
We're going to let the owner.
Just like there'll always be Great Woods, right?
So it's
Fenway
just
Park's
a
always going to be
new
Fenway Park. Yeah, Great Woods is Great
The
Woods.
new large-scale facility.
Or
the large-scale facility on Gilboa Street.
This is really general,
Yeah,
this whole chapter.
keep it general, it should be.
Anyway.
Is there anything else that we need to go over, Gabe, in this chapter?
Well, we're only on.
I don't think so. I'll just
talk about stuff.
briefly walk through the rest of this. I think one of the action items is the comprehensive zoning diagnostic and rewrite. That's already underway.
Yeah, Gabe, could you talk about action item 2.2? Because that's always a little bit of a dicey thing, because for a town that's looking to draw development in, and with things being allowed by site plan review, which is not a denial mechanism, how do towns make the design guidelines work with that? Because if you have a developer who comes in and say, no, I'm not going to do some of these things, what do you do? So,
I mean, you can't, you're correct that you can't like strictly enforce them necessarily, but I mean, if the developer, the developer is required to address certain parts, they're basically, if you can't require that they do the exact design regulations that you want, but they have to at least address what they're doing relative to each criteria that you give them. And if they neglect to include, so let's say you want them to explain what their facades are going to look like. They have to, for example, they have to include that in their application, and if they don't, then they're not fulfilling the application requirements. So it's not strictly enforceable, but I think a developer would be inclined to align with, try to align with the design regulations. And you can also set it up so that the planning board has the right to waive any requirements as well. So it's obviously not a strict denial, but it is a way to kind of reinforce what the town wants to see happen with these developments.
Through the chair, another good example, Gabe, would be when CRG came before the planning board 3 years ago now. One of your requirements, our bylaw states, 20-foot radiuses, turning radiuses for curbing?
Could be, yeah.
And I think you wanted for trucks 30 feet?
Yeah, made it larger.
And we made it larger, made it
industrial
happen.
sites, yeah.
And they sailed through the process.
Yeah.
But they could have held their ground.
Right.
Well, I'm thinking about like downtown town centers with signage and facade treatments and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what towns use design guidelines for a lot. It's not necessarily for a warehouse out near the highway. It's for mainly downtown and mixed-use buildings and things like that. And it's always a dicey thing because although you want to encourage consistency of appearance, it's a very delicate balance because it's tough when you want to bring businesses in to really make things prohibitive for them. So it's
I think on Main Street is just made up of every type of material there. And Sturbridge has this type of zoning bylaw where McDonald's comes in, you will do this storefront.
Oh, the Cape is a perfect example. Everyone wants to look like
you would
Cape
not
with
do the
nice
Golden
wooden
Arch.
signs.
You will do CVS came in.
But I mean, I don't think it doesn't necessarily strictly have to be about architectural requirements. A lot of it can be about, encouraging stormwater, stormwater management that's preferable, encouraging parking and landscaping that's preferable. People fixate on the signage and the building materials. If I were to be writing a design regulations for Douglas, I don't know if I'd include that. I think it would be more practical about kind of improving the streetscape and walkability, and that sort of thing, and improving stormwater runoff. Those are things that can be, site design and site layout are kind of would be the more important part of it. You can have the aesthetic guidelines if you want, but there's real practical planning, physical design stuff that can be encouraged through design regulations. Moving on, I think another thing to look at would be the off-street parking regulations. I think they're pretty good, but they could be improved to, review the table of off-street parking requirements, making sure that the requirements are consistent and appropriate for local conditions, and that you're not overbuilding parking, and also incorporating landscaping requirements to encourage low-impact design, low-impact development that can help improve stormwater and mitigate the concerns with, parking development. And then the next two, one is about the waterfront specific zoning. I think we can heavily modify that so that it is, I don't know, maybe not saying that there needs to be a bylaw developed, but that this should be considered in future zoning changes, that we want to make sure that this is working. I think in the existing condition, we can cut this, but I think at the very least in the existing condition section, we should explain why we think it's working right now. And it's something that I think the town should be sensitive to, is just what you're zoning along the waterfronts, because that's a core part of the town. And even, if you didn't have those small parcels, there still would be things that you want to address on the waterfronts. And then I think looking at the dimensional regulations, I think we could change that from an amend to more of like a consider how we want those dimensional regulations to be implemented. I know, I think it's important to note I wouldn't want to say that all the 2-acre zoning would be eliminated, not by any means. I think especially near, the further west you go in town, the more appropriate it is. I think it's more when you're near the downtown core, is that something that wants to be looked at. So I think softening those action items to be about looking at the dimensional regulations is how I would approach that.
I mean, but we already spoke about that earlier, about whether we want to even go that direction at all, or even go the opposite direction. What if we want 3-acre lots or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, do we want it more rural? Just saying.
I mean, what Gabe said at the beginning makes zoning sense. Normally you have a hierarchy of zoning areas. Like when we did the downtown rezoning in Stoughton, right before they did, to comply with the MBTA community zoning, we had the downtown, but we had sub-districts. We had the central business district, then we had zone 1 and zone 2. And it goes from dense to a little less dense. So you have a transition from your CBD or a commercial industrial use to your residential. So you have kind of a little bit of a buffer between them. So it's what he's saying is correct. Is like you ideally you don't want like residential right next to industrial. You'd like to have some kind of transition zoning between the two to kind of buffer it if possible. So I think that's part of that analysis as well, to see if we're interested in that. But again, it's just an exploration too. It doesn't mean we're going to do it.
That's what happened in the last master plan, okay? We did have, in some of these things that are here, we're in the last, we had discussed them on the last master plan. Then when, I'm going to tell you, I think it took us 10 years to go through everything, because we went through it. I mean, we went through everything, detail. I mean, you think these meetings, you should have seen those. But in the end, we disagreed with some of the stuff that they had to say. We didn't, and we decided not to do it. And so I think what they're saying here is you look at it.
Right.
And you should look at everything. You need to think different ways. Now you find out, well, maybe that wasn't so good. And so I think, you look at it, but it doesn't mean that you're going to adopt it.
It doesn't mean it's widespread too. It could be in certain areas to establish some, medium-sized things as a transition, medium-sized lots as a transition from one zone to another.
You don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with focusing on like industrial land and maximizing the industry of that area, and then I don't know, have a strip of exempt around it, and then have your 5-acre lots. Or whatever. Yeah, we'll look
also
at
looking at buffer zones, and are they adequate? Do we need to increase buffers on these industrial and commercial pieces of land to protect the residential areas around it? That's another aspect.
As a follow-up to that, John, we recently, I won't name names, but we recently had a situation where it was industrial zone out east. I think it was along 16, and they created a stone crushing business. And it was butted up against residential. And boy, those people were not happy. Right. So I refer to it as unintended consequences because the noise level was tough and it affected their quality of life, I believe. So buffers are important.
They are.
I don't think we should prohibit the industrial uses, but we need to keep in mind people's quality of life.
Because the planning board's always looking at both the developer who has the right to develop their property within our regulations, but also protecting the abutters from the adverse impacts of it.
Didn't this come up with the right to farm thing, or about now you can just have cows and pigs?
Oh, God, no, please, let's. It's 7:30. Let's not go there, please.
Is it 7:30?
And then
that's true enough.
The last action.
Get a smell across property line.
crushing rocks or moving cow?
The last action item I would hope would be uncontroversial, but would be about hosting roundtable discussions with developers to kind of talk about how we could work with them to extend infrastructure in the town.
Let's do a square table, not a round table.
Okay.
And
so that second paragraph, you list Director of Community Development, Building Commissioner, Water Sewer Systems Department Systems. I'm already talking to the Water System Department. I start this process. So.
Excuse you.
That's how it goes. I mean, I'm just saying, past experience. These conversations have already taken place before they even reach the planning board.
So, we revisit these at this will be on the agenda next time. So really, if you want to read this over, you have questions and comments, we can take some time.
Fair enough.
It's important. What are we going to do here? If we extend it again, we're going to take a walk on the wild side and go after 7:30, or?
No.
Where do they fall? Are we done?
Motion to adjourn.
I'm ready.
He's hungry.
Yeah.
Oh. Bring snacks.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Becca? We have a second.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So just